Hey, so apologies in advance if I sounded slightly fucked. This is the last recording that I'm doing out of multiple recordings in one little session, so I may sound a little bit weird. If so, I heavily apologize. But I thought it was very important to also get one of these recordings done on one of my conditions. Because again, I think it's really important to more talk about these different things. So, to start off with, I shouldn't have to say this, but no child is really born evil. That only really exists in media. In natural psychology and things like that, children are not born evil. The best way I can more describe it is children are born with certain conditions that make it more likely that they're evil or more likely that they're good. That's the best you can really get in that type of field. And even then, a child that's born with traits that we would normally associate with goodness can also be really fucked. To be you know, to give an example, somebody with a very high empathy level and was also somebody who really wanted to hurt themselves, somebody with these two compulsions, could go over and hurt other people to make themselves feel worse. Even though both those traits we won't necessarily associate with being evil, those combined can lead to an evil person existing psychologically. Because if they're very empathetic, hurting other people could get them, as much pain as hurting themselves, or around the same level. Again, this is another fantasy made-up scenario, but even traits that you consider as good or heroic can also, in the right circumstances, be made evil. The same thing goes for the other side of that coin. And I want people to walk in with that mindset because people get really fucking dumb about certain conditions. Case in point, as I said in the last One of Many Topics video, I have been treated as one of the good ones before. And you may be wondering, what the fuck I mean? What could be something that would be that, wildly weird that people treat me with certain expectations and then are super surprised and just say that I'm the weird one instead of saying, oh, I misunderstood the whole thing. There's a few, but I'm going to stick to one today, which is going to be more being, I'm a genuine narcissist. It's one of the reasons why I call out other people which, seem to more exhibit narcissistic traits but aren't aware of it. And to be clear, I'm aware of the fact that I'm a narcissist. I'm not medicated. And due to the fact that I know that I'm a narcissist, even without me being medicated, I know how to handle myself because I've known that I'm a narcissist for quite some time. Um, and I want to start off with what actually narcissism is like, because people wildly don't understand what it actually is like. So I want to give an explanation on, hey, what does narcissism actually do to me as a person that's experiencing it as a condition? So, first off, at the very least, I can only speak for myself, but my narcissism is not the way people may necessarily think when they think of a narcissist, though it's not completely off the mark either. So first off, it's not that I inherently believe that I'm just naturally, without any effort, going to be better at anything else than anyone else. Um, that isn't how it works for me. No, 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 no. I am still a narcissist, though. The best way I can describe my narcissism is if I put in as much time and as much effort as another person did, 90% of the time, I'm going to make something better. And that is still a narcissistic belief. Believing that just inherently I'm more talented than 90% of people at any subject. Come on, that's like, that is still narcissism. But it's not the way you probably thought it was. For those who don't really get what the main difference is between I'm inherently better than everyone else and if I put in as much time as somebody else on something, I'm gonna probably make something better. Well, it requires me to actually put in the effort for something, you know? I don't magically just wave my hand and I'm better than anyone else. I don't believe that, nor is that true. It's that I put in the effort towards something, and if I put in the same amount of effort and time, I'm going to make something better. That drives me to make, the type of projects which I'm more doing nowadays, like One of Many ASMR. It is a positive urge sometimes. Not necessarily all the time, to be clear. And there are certain problems that also are exhibited by narcissists which I have as well, though I've gotten better at handling them. The actual problems that more come up from me being a narcissist that are real is I'm very stubborn, I'm very prideful, and that I can very easily mistake an insult on my work as an insult on me. And I hold myself to an impossibly high standard. Because, again, if I think I'm better than 90% of people, if I don't live up to that standard, I'm failing myself. I set the bar pretty high for myself to succeed, and luckily, the things which I am working on, I'm generally really good at. But when I fail, I hit myself on the floor real fucking hard. To give an example, I can't do art that much, actually, because I can only really draw with a pen. Due to that, I, you know, if I make a mistake, I can't fix it. I've tried drawing with pencils, but the texture more sets me off. So, due to that, I'm going to be staring at my permanent mistakes and comparing myself towards other people, which, you don't get to see beginner art stuff. I'm comparing myself to the best people that are making art, and finding myself falling short, I get actually really fucking anxious, and that knocks me down. It's one of the reasons why I can't work on art in a serious way that's in a physical capacity, because I knock on myself actually too high by the standard I set for myself. And because narcissism is an intrinsic part of me, I can't really shut that out. There isn't any really anxiety tips that I can do to knock that out other than not taking drawing in a serious capacity. If I'm not seriously trying to draw something and I'm more just doing it as a template or something else, then I'm able to functionally draw. But if I'm trying to actually get a good art project, I hold myself to the standard of other people's good art projects and, well, I self destruct. Those are problems that more come up from me being a narcissist. And it's not all, glamour or evil maniacal bullshit. I am generally more skilled at things for one reason, though. I inherently have an inborn confidence that I'm going to do well. And confidence does actually matter. I do get better results due to the fact that I don't worry about things as much. For instance, on test results, even without me studying, I did get pretty good results because one of the things that does actually get you a lot when you're doing tests and things like that is going to be you getting anxious. That messes up with your brain and your ability to recollect information. Since I didn't have that little debuff, I was perfectly fine, and I did better than most in tests. This further fueled my, well, arrogance. And I want to be clear, narcissism does give you arrogance, not necessarily full confidence. It's more believing without any well-defined reason that you are going to be better than anyone just because you are. Whenever I land myself up to that standard, I start getting more confident about myself. But in that first step, it's definitely arrogance that's more setting me up there. um, there is also other type of downsides that more happen from me being a narcissist. It's a condition I have to live with, and there's been times where I almost stopped making ASMRs altogether because of the fact that I'm a narcissist. If you go over and watch one of my first audios, I would not suggest you, just look at the titles. You will find that I made the subby, princess turns Dami mistress or something like that is what I called it. I want to do an audio like that again one day. A lot better I could make that nowadays. Um, but originally that was going to be part of a sister series. But when I described, like, enthusiastically what my series was going to be to some friends, they shot it down because of how, well, it was going to traumatize some people. Because I was hitting on a lot of traumas, and, well, while I was pointing out those traumas were bad, I was probably going to hurt people. They were right in the decisions that I was going to go over on about healthy BDSM, and some of the problems that switches have to face. Like, as a switch, that was a story I wanted to tell, but that was something that was going to be pretty, you know, uh, triggering for some people and how I originally was planning on making that story. And I took that as a personal hit to me, that I was being really bad as a creative. And that knocked out the sales of me wanting to create content for quite some time. It's one of the things that dragged me down in not wanting to make more stuff. Again, as I've stated in one of my other subscriber videos, the only reason I started making content again was because I got one comment about, I believe it was one of the maid audios, that somebody really liked my stuff, and that inspired me to pick up making audios again after multiple months. I was not originally planning on not making any audios, to be clear, but I wasn't planning on putting an active effort towards making any audios than I do nowadays. And it's only from that comment that told me, hey, you did good here. that I was able to pick myself up. That's a vulnerability that a lot of narcissists have, and it's hard to differentiate. Nowadays, it's been like, I believe 9 months, so I'm able to better differentiate criticism between me and my creations. But I didn't have my guard up for that because it was the first time I was really creating things in a public scale, and I wasn't getting any attention really from it. Nobody was commenting, and my friends, which knew I was making stuff, hit down one idea that I really liked hard, and that shattered me wanting to work on anything. Again, I'm better at this nowadays, but this is a problem that I specifically faced because I'm a narcissist and I hold myself to such a stupid high standard. It results in some really good work, like my most recent audio, but it also has its downsides whenever I'm not able to meet that quota or reality hits me in the face. It's something I have to live with and learn how to manage, and you can learn to manage it. One of the problems that I really have with a lot of people which are undiagnosed narcissist is the fact that I, as a child, had to learn how to manage my narcissism. And while there are definitely things which I wasn't able to perfectly be able to capture, such as, not taking an insult on one of my works as an insult on me, that was a blind spot, I completely agree. But otherwise, not being an asshole, thinking my opinion is better than other people, inherently, I worked through those things. Because while my narcissism is, a part of me, how it affects me is something I can deal with and I can change. And that's one of the problems. A lot of people which are narcissists don't know they are, and a lot of the trappings, like, you need to be very much willing to look towards yourself and analyze why you're feeling certain ways to be able to know that you're a narcissist and to get better. And a lot of people get stuck in the ways thinking that they are the best, and only on that first interpretation of the best, that's like the stereotypical one, that they don't need to do that. And that's because they were never taught to look over and think about themselves. I was taught by more, cartoons and stuff to do that, but I was still taught it. A lot of people aren't. And that's more of a failing on their parents than on them as individuals. Though, of course, they are responsible for their actions. It just leads to a negative impression that all narcissists are inherently thinking that they are better. And there is a slight truth to that, but it's a lot more nuanced. As I said, mine still requires me to put in the effort. I still have to put in as much effort as somebody else to get a better product than them. And if they've spent more time on something, I'm not going to naturally assume that I'm going to be better than somebody who's worked a lot of years on something. That isn't how my narcissism works. And I want to give that explanation because when I start explaining my narcissism in these type of ways, people just assume my narcissism is special or something like that. No. I was a kid that had a fucking hero complex, which I wasn't going to talk about in a different fucking video. And the reason I had a hero complex was because of the whole fact that, well, one, I wanted to help save people. I felt a little bit inadequate. And two, I naturally believed I was better than other people. And the thing that the best people need to do is pick up their lessers, right? Though I wouldn't use the term lessers, I was just more using the betters are supposed to pick up the people below them. And again, I did actually help people stop being bullied by this kind of toxic attitude. It did result in good things. And last off, to go over and talk a little bit about the benefits of my narcissism, it's helped me out a lot with dealing with my depression. When I get super depressed, and it's a nebulous type of depression, I can turn up my narcissism and stop a lot of dumb thoughts. After all, I guess there's anxiety that I'm not going to succeed at something. Hey, I'm me. I'm going to be able to win this. Why? Because I'm me. Duh. And it sounds stupid, but that actually works for me. Because, narcissism is a core part of me. And it always will be. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something I need to learn to manage and be able to use for my own benefit. As, for instance, making it so I did something very labor intensive, like I'm more doing with my audios. Fading things in and out is a lot more effort than a lot of people are willing to put in, but I hold myself to such a high standard that I feel like I should. And that's resulted in some pretty good audios, apparently. um, and it also helps me with my mental defenses and being able to cope with shit. It's a driving force for me to get better and to do good, such as when I was a kid and helping people out. Narcissism doesn't only result in bad things, it's more of a neutral thing. It's just how you manage it. Unregulated, unmanaged narcissism is bad, but not everyone doesn't have it regulated. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this because, well, one, it is one of my lesser conditions. I'm priming you girls up for, like, the lesser punch right now out of the ones that I can more use. But secondly, it's one that I can tell a lot of people get their ideas of what narcissism is, both from the, social media and comic books and movies, and lastly by people which just have an unregulated form of it. In the same way that somebody who has ADHD or autism, um, like these unmedicated and unbeing able to realize that you have these conditions really fuck people up as well. But we don't hold them to such a negative standard, and I do blame that more on media consumption than anything else. But I wanted to more make it clear what the actual condition is like. It's not made me evil. There was a time that I believed that I would be born evil because of this condition and a few others. But I've helped people. I've punched bullies in the face. I've, you know, stopped some people from, ending their existence. I don't think most people would call me evil. Even though in case somebody only saw my conditions, they would label me like that. So please, listen a little bit better towards these type of ideas, and don't necessarily always think that people with a condition such as narcissism, or some other conditions that I'll bring up in the future, are evil. There's also ways that my other conditions bounce off each other, so in other ones that I make after this point, I'm able to bounce off how my narcissism affected these specific type of conditions that I had. Anyway, I think that's me rambling enough. And I've talked more in a normal voice because, my throat is killing me right now. Um, so anyway, I'm going to end the recording now, and hopefully this was informative to people to not... Because, I want people not to treat me like one of the special ones, one of the good ones. That's really fucking weird when you're in that position, It's fucking weird shit. It's so awkward and weird and fuck, man. So I'd rather people not do that. And I'm gonna leave that here, for real this time, because, like, my throat is killing me. Bye, dolls. Hopefully, again, this was informative, and it helps open up your perspective on some of these things. Ciao.